All right, welcome on in. Can you believe it? Another week of high school football. Matt Ernst along with Andrew Wood here at
Good afternoon.
the digital news desk here at KCBD. And I know you're saying, okay, something's up here if Matt's handling sports. You are correct. You're accurate on that. Bobby out today. Bobby's normally here for the high school preview, but Andrew is the expert, all things here, high school football. It's actually already been a pretty busy week from what we saw last night, wasn't it, Andrew?
Yeah, of course. Thursday night throwdown. I bet right now Estacado wants every game to be on a Thursday after they came from behind to beat Randall and Andrews, and last night they held on for dear life to beat Perryton.
Yeah, it was, and if you just checked the score last night, 58-51, that was not actually how the game, you may have thought, was it a one-score game the entire game? It was not. Matter of fact, last night it was actually pretty well in hand until the last few minutes. It was pretty remarkable. Perryton was able to recover the onside kick last night. That was to make it, and then next subsequent play threw a bomb to the end zone, scored. That made it a 14-point game at that point? Or no, that was the 7-point
Yeah, that made it 58-51.
Yeah, 58-51. And Estacado, no time waiting to score right out of the gate. You can see this score down the left sideline with about 11:30 left in the game. Like you mentioned, Andrew, Thursday night throwdown seems to be a good spot for the Matadors to be there now 3-0. What does this mean for the playoff positioning for the Matadors?
Oh, I mean, this is huge because in this district you have Estacado, you have Liberty, you have Leveland, and you have it in Perryton even. So, but any way you can get these wins in this district, you'll take it when you can get it because, I mean, Estacado, they also have Liberty coming up, so being 2-0 right now is a good thing for them.
And that's going to be a huge game. That's on the night before Halloween. I think it lines up perfectly for the Matadors and for Liberty. You know, we always, especially for the teams in our area, we want to cover both ends here, but huge game on Thursday night, then Halloween they can go trick-or-treating on Friday night. That was a Friday night game. It's going to be moved to Thursday night. That Thursday night throwdown will be on Lubbock CW. Again, that's not next week. That's the following week. We'll have it streaming here on KCBD YouTube as well as on Lubbock CW. And talking about what that district looks like, this was, Pete pointed this out, the Perryton, which you say, I mean, if someone's not from West Texas, oh, they're from the Panhandle. It's a short drive down. It's over a 3.5-hour drive. The bus didn't actually make it here.
Yeah, for a Thursday night nonetheless. Now, for the band, I want to say Abernathy helped them out.
Yeah, I saw that not all the buses made it, and Pete shared that bus broke down, I guess, near Abernathy, and Abernathy stepped up, got a bus for them to get, I guess it was the band kids back down here. Andrew and I both played in band, so we do not want to forget about the band kids.
And I've been on that side where the bus breaks down.
Yeah, I have too. They're called life lessons, kids, but that was a big win for Estacado last night. And a cool story that Coach Ward told to David Thetford yesterday at the luncheon was they asked, was there any discussion I saw going to halftime of the previous game? Who did Estacado play previous week?
Leveland.
That's right, against Leveland. And that was the rematch of the two Red Raider head coaches. Thetford asked him, did you hear from your wife going to halftime? And he said, yes, sir. All she said was, Eric? Well, he was asking because their son, who's the quarterback, ran right up the middle, and he saw what happens a lot of the time when a quarterback runs right up the middle. So I believe that was all it took was the one word. I didn't realize until yesterday what else was kind of going on in their whole family at that point. The fact that they showed it on Thursday Night Throwdown, and earlier in the day when Pete was talking with Coach Ward, they just welcomed their 6th son a couple days earlier. So it is a busy time there. Props to Coach Ward for getting the team ready, and for congratulations to his family for welcoming in a new member to the Ward family. So that's what we had last night. Let's move on here and talk about, I guess, first game going over for tonight. Friendship, Andrew. They're welcoming in Midland Legacy. And this Friendship team has put up the points over the last few weeks.
I mean, they did get off to a rough start, but since then they've been 3-1, and in those 4 games they've scored 200 points.
That's a lot.
So, and with future Red Raider Chase Campbell and Legacy, they come in with a 2-4 record, but you just got to look at those 4. Like, they played a murderer's row: Allen, Lake Travis,
Euless Trinity, Ruston, Louisiana.
Yeah. And I don't know how they go about scheduling these teams. Like Midland High played a school from California.
Goodness. I mean, we say one thing when West Texas teams play New Mexico, and you're like, okay, that's pretty good distance. Louisiana, I realize you can connect to some interstates there from Midland, but Louisiana isn't exactly close by. So,
but for Legacy, every time they played a team they're more familiar with, like San Angelo Central Abilene, they've won accordingly. So, I think it's definitely a game Friendship needs to take seriously.
Yeah, and that'll be tonight in Wolford at Tiger Stadium at People's Bank Stadium there. So I guess if people are expecting a lot of points, they may get that out there tonight.
All the way through.
Anything else before we move on to some of the other schools here you'd like to pass along on the Friendship game?
I think we have it covered.
Okay.
It's just last week, Friendship, they did beat their other Midland school, Midland High, 42-31, and they also, I mean, it took them 3 late scores to do it, but
yeah, got it in there late. So that'll be, again, Midland Legacy facing off against Friendship here later tonight. Bless you. We're here in the newsroom. So the cool thing is all the people are working right behind us. Who sneezed? Aubrey. Bless you, Aubrey. Just to show you that this is live and we are in the newsroom, whatever happens here can look straight ahead. Jaden's back there drinking his protein that does not have lead in it, so he's good right there. Let's jump on to talk about Monterey tonight. They'll be facing off against Tascosa. This also is a team a program, I should say rather, a district, Andrew, that is loaded from the top.
Yeah, especially with the 2 Amarillo schools, Amarillo Tascosa and Abilene High, and Monterey is trying to get into the upper part of the district, and they don't want to end up with 2 losses tonight. And even from that press conference yesterday, like Coach Sims, they really want this win against Tascosa. And
they're sitting at 4-3 right now. I like it when you have, first a district with more than 4 teams, but a good-sized district where it's kind of bunched up like that. Now, I don't know if Coach Sims would say I like it because of kind of the stress of everything going in there, but a pretty stacked district, 4-3, are right at that point that really drives home how important tonight's game is.
And they're 2 completely different offenses. You have the triple option for Tascosa. They've had it for years, and nobody has figured it out.
Yeah.
And then Monterey's spread offense, which in the last 2 games is really coming into its own.
Yeah, and spreading it out, we saw that last week against Lubbock High. They have been able to score quickly, really move the ball quickly as well. So it's been pretty impressive what Monterey's been able to do. Because it was 2 Lubbock ISD teams last week. Coach Sims had joked the prior week with Coach Rodriguez about running the triple option, and I guess before the game they actually were running through it as if they were practicing it, but Coach Rodriguez said, no, I didn't even look that direction. I was focused on they were doing it as a joke, like to say, hey, we're about to bust out this triple option, but that is something that Tascosa has run, and it almost seems like once you have it established, it's generational. I don't know if they teach it in pre-K and they just learn how to.
I feel bad for whoever has to shoot that game with that triple option offense, because having covered it before, it's not easy.
We're isolated right there. Thought the guy had the ball. No, threw it out that direction, optioned it. Or you sometimes get this jittery video and it's because the defender's doing the same thing. It's just when you're on the sideline, zoomed all the way in, that's kind of what's going through the defender's mind, where you think, okay, right there, that's. It's tough to defend. It's tough to execute, but that'll be we'll see what Monterey's defense can do with that tonight. And talk about some of these players that we'll be watching tonight from Monterey.
Quarterback Jonah Reed, of course, that's Coach Sims' son, and Q Boyd, Cam Taylor, and I want to say Darren Moore, lead running back.
Yeah. So good number of guys who have been able to really keep the offense moving, and so we'll be watching for them tonight. And you can watch with us tonight. We'll have the game at 7 o'clock, Tascosa and Monterey, 7 o'clock at KCBD.com. If you're watching this right now on YouTube, we'll have it on the KCBD YouTube page as well, and the KCBD Connected TV app. If you have a Roku, simple as can be, just go to the search for KCBD. You'll find that free app. Download it. That's where you can watch the high school football games like we had last night, tonight, You can watch our newscast, or if you say your newscast schedule doesn't work for me, well, now it does. You can watch any newscast on your schedule. Just click right in there at the KCBD Connected TV app. Let's stay within Lubbock ISD and talk now about Coronado. What can we expect from the Mustangs tonight, which could be a breakthrough game for Coronado?
Hopefully
tonight,
a win, because at yesterday's Lubbock ISD, their press conference luncheon, like that was the most spirited I've heard Coach Roy. I mean, this is a game that Coronado is very capable of winning, and of course Caprock, they're 1-5, and their one win is 4 points over Pampa, who's also a one-win team. And Coronado's, they've showed great flashes this year. You saw that one-handed catch with Campbell Stanek, and even against Abilene, a team very strong on talent,
a loaded team,
a loaded team, and the score is a lot better than what you saw from 35-6. So I think this is a very winnable game for the Mustangs.
Yeah, and they hung with them in the first half. It just really showed, high school or collegiate level, often you will really start to see when a team has more talent and they get deeper into the game. Coach Roy has explained this is a team where they are sometimes not even on their second or their third. Sometimes it's their fourth, fifth option that they're lined up with right now. So it's some of the struggles of a young team, but he said, they're out there practicing, and also they've kind of changed some of the things they're trying to do with either who's overseeing which group and things like that. We understand they've been struggling, but it is a team that definitely is putting in strong effort for them tonight. So, and who was it? Let's see, you said Caprock. That was Pampa, and that was a close game that they got the one win from. So.
Pampa, they lost to West Plains last night, 55-7. So, but Coach Roy, he also said that this is a game that just because they're 1-5 doesn't mean it's going to be handed to them, because Caprock probably looks at this as like a chance to get their second win, because Coronado being 0-7.
Yeah, and that's just kind of the kind of how it goes. You got to reload each week and be ready to go. So that will be a game at Caprock, Coronado, Caprock up at Dick Bivens Stadium. Staying within Lubbock ISD, let's talk about Lubbock High tonight. Andrew, what do we expect?
Ooh, this will be another tough matchup for the Westerners, but you saw how they played that second half with Monterey. I want to say it was 14-6 at halftime, and then both teams just exploded. And of course, Lubbock High even had 28 points in that second half. And, of course, we don't want to get too bogged down on stats, but Bo Davis, when you're averaging 200 yards a game, you have to say it.
Yeah, that's impressive, the kind of offensive numbers Bo Davis has shown up this year. Who are some of the other guys for the Westerners?
Yeah, quarterback Zach Reyna and Anthony Boyd, running back, right behind him. This is – Lubbock High, they're staying in with a 1-5 record, but they're staying in every game. They could also be 3-3 for all we know.
And it almost seems like it's kind of the iconic one of the places to play if you're leaving the Lubbock area. Shotwell Stadium, so many huge games, and of course a lot of playoff games seem to wind up down there. You've shot down there. What's it like at Shotwell?
Well, it's kind of older. it's an interesting playoff run, and I've done it. I've shot 3 playoff games there. You get
Which
Abilene
ones?
Christian. Okay, it was Estacado Decatur from 2 years ago, and then Walnut Grove Cooper last year, and in 17 I snuck in for Midland Lee and Euless Trinity.
Okay, cool.
I was covering a Coronado game at ACU.
That's right, and it just kind of winds up sometimes playoff games there both at ACU and Shotwell, and we've had different people over the years trying to get between the two, being down there in Abilene. But like you mentioned, it's been there forever, and it's nice if you can play there and then see it again later in the playoffs. That'll be Lubbock High, Abilene High coming up tonight there in Abilene. Next up, a couple, it's just interesting now, if you've been asleep for 5 years and woke up, said, wait, there are 2 Lubbock Cooper teams, and they're both hosting tonight with the evolution here of Lubbock Cooper Liberty. Let's first talk about the Pirates tonight, welcoming in Paladuro. What can we expect in this game?
Of course, Cooper, the last few weeks they've had, it's very unlike what we've seen from them. They had the rough go at Plainview, and then just last week it was that game at Abilene Cooper at Shotwell that they probably want to forget about.
Yeah.
But Paladuro's not going to make it any easier. They're they're playing very well. They're winning 5 in a row, including a win. They're 582, and they have a win over 581 Amarillo High. It was 35-14. So for Cooper, we've seen great things from their defense, especially how they shut down Tascosa earlier this year. And that's what we'll kind of need to see from them tonight.
And definitely need to see the defense step up tonight since they've given up some of those big numbers. Well, let's stay just going down the road from, and it's kind of a fuzzy definition. I mean, we always said Woodrow for Lubbock Cooper, so I don't know if you define it. On the graphic here, I just put Patriot Stadium because it's kind of right at the edge of the city of Lubbock limits. I don't know if you'd say it's west of Woodrow, so we'll say you let us know in the comments if you'd like how you would define that specific. And the stadium and the brand new high school are just gorgeous there at the Patriots at Lubbock Cooper Liberty. What can you expect with Borger coming down tonight? Do you think the Patriots may put a few points up tonight?
Yes, I think very quickly. Of course, Liberty, they've had a way of making some really good teams look bad when they play them. Look what they did at New Home, Ilu, Seminole, and even Perryton and Fort Stockton. And Borger comes in 0-6, so I think the game will. If it's like it's been this season, it'll probably be decided by halftime.
Yeah, and some of those earlier games going into it, with the younger team that's been coming together here at Liberty, wondering what will they do, and you just look up and say, my goodness, they poured the points on earlier. Who are some of the standout players for the Patriots?
Yeah, quarterback Colton Bichard, Levi Walker. He's the one that broke out the 80-yard score from scrimmage last week at Perryton in that 56-14 win.
And it's kind of a good feeling once you've taken that more than 3.5-hour drive up to the Panhandle and then look up and say, okay, straight from scrimmage, 80 yards going to the house, kind of doing a Cameron Dickey impersonation. Can you say it's an impersonation because it was the day before the Cameron Dickey run? But we'll just throw it all together here.
Well, yeah, Liberty, and they had, after that Greenwood game, of course, that kind of brought them down a little bit. The way they played Perryton kind of proves they're the same team they've been all year.
Yeah. So, again, both Lubbock Cooper schools at home, the Pirates at home at Pirate Stadium there, and then Liberty at Patriot Stadium. Let's talk about some of the other games that we'll be watching here tonight. Up 84, Muleshoe and Littlefield. What do we expect tonight, Andrew?
Points. I did that game last year. It was up in Muleshoe, and they won it 55-51.
Goodness.
And, I mean, it's a rivalry game. Records will go out the window. Muleshoe last week, they had an overtime win, which ended a 4-game losing streak. And then Josue Segala, he had 378 all-purpose yards, which is maybe 100 more than what Dickey had the day after. And, of course, Littlefield, we had them in a couple weeks ago as Team of the Week. They had a rough go with Slayton. So, of course, on paper, you think the game will follow Littlefield's favor. But
yeah.
It's a doable game for both teams. I think you want to say they want to beat each other, but I think they want to outscore each other.
Yeah, with kind of scoring like Andrew mentioned last year that we saw there. A lot of great people have come from Littlefield. Stole that line whenever Abner will say a lot of great people came from Lubbock High. My wife and her family are from Littlefield, so I'll throw that in there. But I'm not taking sides, Mules fans. Muleshoe and Littlefield. Again, that game at Littlefield tonight. Post and Olton going just a little bit up north from Littlefield. What can we expect in this matchup?
We haven't really mentioned the Olton Mustangs a whole lot on here, but they're playing really well right now. They've posted 2 shutouts. Granted, it was against Vega, it was against Floydada, but they also had the early win against Dimmitt, 34-14. And if you look how Dimmitt's played, then that really means something. And Post, it's going to be a reset game for them because just 15 days ago, they were number 2 in the state and won 17 of their last 18, and they've had a rough go in their last 2 games. So I think a win for the Antelopes could put them back on the right track.
Yeah, with Post dropping those games to Farwell and New Deal. And, it's not, okay, season's over, and rankings are just that. They're just rankings. So it's more positioning you're concerned with. I'm not a coach, but I would say, as you're looking toward playoffs, there's still games ahead. So even with those 2 tough losses, doesn't mean things are over. Let's go west of the state line, Hobbs and Clovis, Andrew.
And, yeah, rivalry game right there. And both teams come off a key win last week. Hobbs, they've won 3 of their last 4. They're 5-2 right now in district. And it was very late last week when they beat Las Cruces Centennial 44-33. And Clovis, they got their 2nd win of the year. They're already much improved from last year's team that went 0-10. They opened the season beating Farmington and last week winning at Oregon Mountain. And even in losses to Carlsbad and Cibola, they still look very respectable.
Okay, so that's a game coming up at Clovis. That'll be Hobbs at Clovis here later on tonight. What about some of the 6-man games you're watching? And you actually, first let's talk about the game you went to last night.
Yeah, another Red Raider legend, Brian Duncan, 77-32. And got to give it to Lasbuddy, though. Like, they scored, and there was a kickoff return, and like 70 yards runs up the middle. And I think at halftime, Anton went in with a 49-32 lead, and they just scored the 3 touchdowns they needed to 45 them. But I'm glad, I mean, for Coach Duncan, they've won 3 games this year.
Yeah,
so
that's
for them.
good. So what are some of the 6-man games tonight you're watching?
Nazareth, Spring Lake Earth, both teams are playing very well. Of course, Spring Lake Earth, they dealt Hart their first loss last week, 52-27. And Nazareth, of course, when they beat Crest 2 weeks ago. And Petersburg, Silverton, it seems kind of random, but both teams had a key win. Petersburg played their best last week, that 70-24 win at Lorenzo. And Silverton, Coach Holt, who's from there, he coached Whitehall several years and then came back. The Owls got off to a rough start, but now they're on a 2-game streak. So one of these is going to have momentum on their side.
Who's going to Petersburg? That's the question. That's an old inside
And I didn't
joke
put
here.
that for that reason.
He did not want to list that in here. But Petersburg and Silverton, good luck to both of those teams here tonight. And then at the TAPS level and some of the other groups that we follow here, Kingdom Prep and Christ the King. And Christ the King has been rolling, Andrew.
Yeah, they're 5-0 right now. This is a standard they've always wanted. They have, I want to say, John and Matthew Cisneros, if I'm getting that correct. And then KPA, they're 6-1, and their one loss was to Abilene Christian. But they've played very well. They 45 teams, both teams have 45, Anton and Amherst. I want to say they've beaten them. And I was there with KPA. They had that 42-40 shootout win against Boys Ranch, and Boys Ranch is a good team. And that game's actually, I'm about to head out there here in a few minutes.
Okay, what time is that?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
The CTK
kickoff.
games are the best because
Andrew likes those because there's never sun is usually still shining out there. Can get out to those
and
right
bring
away.
a lawn chair if you're going.
Good point there as well. And I should mention both of those teams are doing well. Christ the King 5-0, Kingdom Prep at 6-1. So both of those teams have been rolling. What is Andrew's been covering high school football here for many years and shooting the games here on the South Plains. What are some of the, the different kinds of stadiums that just have some tweaks to them, something being different that you enjoy going to? I think one of them is Guthrie.
Oh, yeah, and actually I did a neutral side game at Jack Huey Field. It was Whitehall Throckmorton 2 years ago, and they kept the concession stand open.
Good to know.
It's, to me, the way I decide stadiums, it's different than most people. Just in ways you wouldn't expect. Like, I love shooting games at Amherst. You wouldn't think about it, but
Why is that?
it just got all the history to it. And in Loop, I mean, they're the same kind of field, but of course, this is like their biggest 5 days of the year, getting to host those games.
Yeah. And I just like, especially as you get to this time of the year now, it's 89 right now in Lubbock. It was up to in the 90s this afternoon. Usually it starts cooling off. It'll be cooler next week, but I like the games when it's getting cooler, and especially if you're going to a small town stadium where you can see off in the distance, see the lights of harvest underway. That's always cool. Be there with kickoff, maybe there well after the game ends, and just seeing harvest surrounding the area, but also just driving out to a game, especially in a smaller town, and if you're going from one town to the next, seeing the white cotton at this point, just a cool part of it. Andrew and I both went to small schools, so just enjoyed those smaller stadiums. I guess going to a small school, I remember the one time it was a playoff game. We got to march in the Alamo Dome. It was the opposite effect. Getting to go to a huge stadium seemed cool, but now it's just the appreciation for the small stadiums that may have been around for a while. Of course, you have palaces growing up all across the state now also.
And anytime like there's a chance for me to go out and shoot, I'll always pick the stadium I haven't shot at. Of course, that's getting more few and far between. But if I can add it to my list, I will.
Well, before we wrap up here, that's all the discussion on the high school front of things. And, of course, Pete will have complete highlights. I believe the first thing – actually, now that I think about this, Andrew goes and shoots the game at about 4 o'clock, which coincides with the food arriving here from Fuddruckers. Does someone save you a meal?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to put security on that. Tell them.
So far, they're 7-0 in terms of saving me meals.
Excellent. Undefeated on keeping Andrew with food. But, yeah, he'll be out for that early game here. And you see, like, the steam coming from the sports office. Things get very busy here. So many people that fan out all across the South Plains, shoot the games. bring them back, get them on the air. So Pete will have those coming up here during the 10 o'clock newscast in the End Zone. Then, of course, End Zone Extra follows on Fox 34 a little bit later. Then we'll have complete extended highlights on KCBD.com and the End Zone app. And Andrew is working through the night into the early morning hours, getting each of those games, all the highlights, all the information posted on the KCBD End Zone app. Let's talk about the game tomorrow afternoon, 3 o'clock in the desert. This will be I'm excited for this game. The Red Raiders heading out to Arizona State. And I know a lot of the discussion this week has been kind of the off-field that becomes on-field stuff regarding the fans. But at the news conferences this week, specifically to the game, what have the discussions been, Andrew, from the coaches or from the players?
Or the key players. Of course, we know Skylar Gill-Howard, he's ruled out. And that was kind of a downer when it happened the other night with Kansas, but then the defense went on to make 9 sacks without him. Of course, his leadership is definitely essential. But they still have so many players that are worthy of picking up and going. And Barrett Morton will play, but then Will Hammond, we've seen him twice come in the second half and save the game with 3 touchdowns. And right now, and the key matchup is Tech's defense against ASU's offense. Of course, Sam Levitt is expected to play, and then Jordan Tyson, he's probably ranks one of the top 2 or 3 receivers in the Big 12, and so he'll be a factor.
And the just impressive thing is, watching the Red Raiders for many years is having a star like Skylar Gill-Howard be out, but no, there's so many other guys. It's not, okay, here's the one guy who is out. The sheer depth of this defense, a defensive line that's just stuffing and every single attempt against them, like you mentioned, shutting down that Arizona State offense. And Kansas had a good offense, and Coach McGuire alluded to that before the game and after, and the way that we've seen successive second half shutouts in Big 12 play is something just almost unheard of. But I'm excited for this game, 3 o'clock tomorrow. And it's different now when following the Red Raiders. You're not just watching, at least from my perspective, you're not just watching with interest who's ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 higher up there, how they did. Now it's like critically with interest watching who above you will lose. We saw Penn State drop a couple in a row. Certainly did not expect to see something like that happen, but it's definitely interesting, and it's a fun time of year.
Yeah, we never thought Penn State would be a 3-loss team and Texas a 2-loss team right now, and Oregon a 1-loss.
Yeah, interesting times, but the Red Raiders will be making that trip out west, and you can watch it unless you just hopped on that flight that is headed west. Justin Margolis did the direct flight to Phoenix, and he should be landing anytime soon there. It's one of those flights you leave and you arrive at the same time when you have the 2-hour time difference. But unless you're headed out there or out there already, you can watch it with us. We'll have it on Fox 34. That's the 3 o'clock game tomorrow afternoon, the Red Raiders and Arizona State. So that'll, and Justin will be bringing us those reports. First be provided everything traveled. And as far as I know, he was just fine heading out there. He'll have that report for us coming up tonight at 6 on NewsChannel 11 at 6. The other game out to the west, Shelby attempted to get out there and made it as far as DFW Airport with a whole bunch of Red Raider fans. So that was when there was just the nightmare of travel through both Love Field and DFW a couple weeks ago. But these games are just, each one is so important, and Coach McGuire has talked about that. Looking ahead here through the schedule, you've got Arizona State here. Next week, Oklahoma State will be coming to Lubbock. So, and again, you can't overlook anybody, but we've seen what the track record for the Cowpokes has been this year. Following week, that'll be another road challenge where they go to Kansas State, and then shaping up after that, I think the BYU game. We'll be watching here what Brigham Young does over the next couple of weeks, but that also looks like it'll be a pretty big matchup here at Jones Stadium.
And then, going back to K-State, of course, K-State got off to like that terrible 1-3 start, but then it seems like now they've figured things out, and this is a team that Tech hasn't beaten since 2015.
Yeah.
So when the time comes, they'll definitely be thinking about that.
Yep. So, again, those are weeks ahead. That's for us just talking about to have some fun here. We know the Red Raiders are focused on Arizona State, though, tomorrow afternoon. That'll be a 3 o'clock kickoff. And, again, KCBD Sports is there in Arizona. As far as I know, we are there in Arizona. Should have landed here a few minutes ago. But we'll have that report coming up at 6, 9, and 10, and then coverage throughout tomorrow. And Pete and our entire team getting all the highlights here put together. Pete and Shelby back here for the End Zone. So Pete will have those updates coming up on News Channel 11 at 10 later on tonight. Did I miss anything at all, Andrew?
I think we got it pretty well covered.
Well, once you get into playoff baseball, you have the rare occasion where we have starting pitchers who are brought in relief. So sometimes you have the rare situation where the non-sports guy jumps on in here. I'm a huge sports fan, but I haven't done sports. A little bit in the morning newscast occasionally, but really with any regularity was at KTXT in 2003, keeping it locked to the left on 88.1. So I got to play sports here for a little while. Anyone else want to sneeze in the newsroom? It's just fun that we have the whole newsroom here. And we're going to kind of reposition things here so you can see a little bit more of the newsroom as we go do more here from the digital news desk. But that is the update. Andrew's headed out. Where? I know the two teams playing. Where is that?
Yeah, Christ the King.
That is at Christ the King.
54th Orlando.
54th in Orlando.
And I got my sunscreen ready, too.
Good, because it is a sunny, hot summertime afternoon up around 90 right now. Andrew will be heading out there. We have our teams going all across the South Plains to cover all the high school teams. We'll be bringing you more games, more coverage than anybody else. Pete will have that later on tonight and a big tech game tomorrow. So thank you for joining us here on KCBD.com, on our Facebook and YouTube pages. And, of course, Andrew will be loading up the End Zone app later tonight. Hope you have a great rest of your afternoon and a great evening.